Hello and welcome to DCP SideQuest episode number 81, the big game post episode.
Yes.
And the big game is Metroid 4
Metroid
Prime
4
coming
Prime.
out now. The 35th anniversary of Metroid.
Wait, is today the actual day, the 35th anniversary?
No, it's just this year. I just because
okay.
I knew Mario's anniversary was last year. Their 35th anniversary was last year because they did all sorts of like cool stuff for Mario. And I knew that people were hyping up that this was the 35th anniversary of Zelda. So that made, in my mind, well, Metroid released close to those games, the first Metroid, so it's got to be close, and it is. It's the 35th anniversary of Metroid.
Yeah,
but it's not getting anywhere near the same love that Zelda or Mario are getting.
Well, at least we know a Metroid's coming. It's just it might be
Eli's
5 years
coming.
You know, might be a decade. Who knows? Maybe they are going to wait until the 40th for the official.
When did they announce that they were rebooting it? Like they
showed Metroid Prime 4 or something, right? Or Metroid 4. It was like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
There was like, and also they announced that kind of they were restarting the reboot.
Yeah.
That was like 2 years ago because that tweet came up the other day, and it was someone did that sneaky thing where they retweeted an old tweet, but it came up and it was like, oh, Metroid announcement, and then I retweeted it. It was like, oh, and everyone was like, why are you going to do this to me? I was like, oh wait, sorry, this tweet was from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then it was just so I think it was a couple of years back they basically said that they'd changed the studio. I have no idea.
So that's a setback, right?
That's definitely a setback.
So maybe next year, who knows? Maybe they were planning on have it for the 35th. I mean, what are you gonna do if you can't release a game? Then what are you gonna do for the 35th anniversary, right?
Stickers, maybe maybe a T-shirt.
I would like a T-shirt, a
Metroid
Metroid Prime.
Yeah.
Just have Samus in her underwears.
Yeah. Maybe it's announcing Samus's OnlyFans.
How much has the world changed?
Whoa.
I mean, that literally blew everybody's mind that Samus was a girl. How much has the world changed since when did that game? Well, we know it's 30. So 1986, that game came out.
Yeah.
And if you beat it in under a certain amount of time, I believe I've never actually done this, but if you beat it under a certain amount of time, at the end, Samus would take off her armor and you'd see that she was a girl. And that nobody knew she was a girl. There was no video game characters that were girls. Video games for boys.
You mean Metroid is not called Seamus, Aaron? Oh.
Yeah, we've come a ways, that's for sure, in the industry. Thank goodness. It's such a silly thought.
Yeah. It was literally mind-blowing.
So we were talking before the show started about how is Metroid actually popular in Japan, and the four of us
Google it.
We don't know. What I'm saying is like we collectively, us four, we don't know. Watts is currently Googling it. I don't know if we're going to have any kind of like actual resolution as to whether or not Metroid's actually popular in Japan after the show.
I got you.
Yeah?
All right. Okay.
All right, here it is.
Metroid was more popular in Japan until the Prime series. FPS just don't have as much hold on the market as they do in the West. Super
Interesting.
Metroid was more popular there. Metroid 2 and the first Metroid did much better internationally. The Metroid style of gameplay isn't very popular in Japan. There you go.
Interesting.
So the Metroid Prime style of gameplay isn't very popular in Japan.
Yes.
But the
And then
old
I think
Metroids were popular.
It's more popular.
Yeah.
But then it even said like the first Metroid and Metroid 2 did much better internationally.
Yeah, I think that's always been the story with Metroid. I don't have any actual data for that, but that's always kind of how I remember it. And maybe that's why we're not seeing like a big 35th anniversary celebration from Nintendo like we are for Mario and for Zelda.
They just got to throw a Pokeball in there and you just like Pokesnap, Pokecatch, all these Metroids, you know, catch all the varieties of Metroids.
How are we getting Pokemon Snipe 2 faster than we're getting?
Snipe.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was me projecting.
Is that Pokemon going on sniper assassin missions? You get to
How are we getting Pokemon Snipe 2 faster than we're getting a Metroid Prime 4?
How are we getting a Pikmin faster than a Metroid? Come on.
Right?
And that's been years at this point.
That was Pikmin 1 and 2 only for Game Boy or GameCube, right? Did they ever come out on Wii? Did they do like a remaster on Wii?
Oh, I think they did a remaster on Wii.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they had a new game.
Or it might have been a new one.
They had a new game came out like 3-4 years ago or something. I mean, this is
they all
all.
just blur into one for me. Like I've never clicked with Pikmin. It's always been a bit like,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're like, you got this instead of Metroid. That's what I think.
My mom loves it, but she didn't like the new one because they messed up a bunch of gameplay according to
really?
my mom. So
really?
They
They
ruined
changed
it.
the-
Well, maybe she could come on the podcast for the next episode when we talk about the new Pikmin game.
What's wrong with Pikmin? Everything that's wrong with Pikmin, the episode.
Yep.
It's the microtransactions that really fucked it up.
Yeah. And again, for me, the fact that they chose that instead of Metroid. Come on, man.
Metroid. I just want more Metroid. I really like 2D Metroid much more than I like 3D Metroid. And I like 3D Metroid a lot. But like, if in my heart of hearts, what I really want is a new 2D Metroid.
I love both. I thoroughly enjoyed pretty much all of them except for the last one, the third iteration of the 3D one, where it was like, they had some weird story cutscene, mash your button type of crap. I wasn't a fan of that, but like, I've played them all, and that was my least favorite. But I'm definitely a big fan of the franchise.
Yeah, who's developing the new one? Do we know?
Wasn't it Retro? Were Retro the ones that took over, or Retro were the ones that they had taken away from them? I think it's Retro that are what? Let's find out.
Time for the Google.
This is a show. This is your favorite podcast that just Googles everything.
Google stuff.
We should just rename
Retro
it.
Studios. Yeah, it was restarted under Retro Studios in 2019. Whoever was doing it before did a clapped job, and then Nintendo were like, "Yo, your Metroid is rubbish. Let's give it to Retro because they know what they're doing."
Wow.
That's basically what happened, and they were like, "Bam!"
Speaking of old ass Nintendo first-person shooters, did you guys see that the Xbox 360 of GoldenEye, the remake, got kind of leaked online?
Like what?
No.
So back in like the late 2000s, Microsoft, who owns Rare, right, developed a remake of GoldenEye, and the game was pretty much complete. But they just couldn't get it to release because of licensing issues, right? That's the problem with that game is you got the Bond license, you got the Nintendo license, you got Rare. Like, there's just too many cooks in the kitchen, and they just couldn't get it out. So everybody knew this thing was coming out. People had seen it. People had played it, but it never got released.
Wow.
Somehow, this thing got leaked online and is now completely playable. If you have a hacked Xbox that can play burned discs, then you can play it on there, or you can just play it on an emulator. Which I did, and it's fucking awesome.
Really?
Yeah, you know how GoldenEye, the way you remember GoldenEye was it was a fantastic game, and it ran really smoothly, and like all those things were in every way it was the awesomest game you've ever played. Well, none of that's actually true about the Nintendo 64 game, but you can go back to the Xbox 360 remake on a PC and play it on an emulator, and you're basically playing your memories, right? In a lot of ways, it's hard to go back, right? The controls for that game were really weird. Using the left stick to control your character and using the buttons. Use the buttons on the right to move your character and the left stick to aim. It was really messed up.
Oof. Strange.
It doesn't really work. It ran at like 12 frames per second. We all loved it back in the day, and it was an awesome couch multiplayer game. But playing this remake, it's just such a good remake, and it's not completely finished. There's some bugs in it. There's some weird texture issues occasionally, but for the most part, it's a completely finished game. And it's well worth the 15 minutes it's going to take you to figure out how to download and play it. Let me tell you.
That is interesting, man. Makes you wonder how many games from the console generations were just like shelved that might exist out there that never got released that were actually decent games.
Yeah. GoldenEye is a weird one too because they did a remake on the Wii, but it was like a different game. Mm-hmm. And when everybody just wanted a straight up remake of the old game, but with updated controls, and that's what this gives you.
Do you remember, was it the one on Wii or was it on GameCube? Do you remember GoldenEye Rogue Agent, which I was like, I was excited for, thinking, it's going to be like GoldenEye. It was rubbish. It was as a James Bond game, James Bond dies at the beginning of the game. And you play some other dude. I was like, and you play some other dude with a golden eye, and I'm like, I didn't want to play quite literally a golden eye. I wanted to play it felt like some knockoff title. I was like, I very rarely return games, I took that game back to the shop.
Did you really?
Yeah, I basically never do that. I think in my entire history of gaming, I think I returned Prince of Persia, like one of them, because I encountered a game breaking bug, and I was like, I can't bother to play this game again.
Yeah,
and then it was Goldeneye, and they were the only games I think I've ever like returned to the shop.
Man, the Prince of Persia game. Though they were full of game breaking bugs.
Which
Well,
one?
it's
It's like Sands of Time and those ones?
Yeah, I remember one. I can't remember which one exactly it was, but there was supposed to be like a thing that I could go up. There was supposed to be a platform, and the platform was completely missing. So I couldn't do it. I was like, I can't get into the room because the platform is missing. I guess I just have to start again.
Yeah, I had one of those where like there was a part in the game where like I think it was the one. I think it was the one after Sands of Time. But basically, yeah, you would get like stronger swords throughout the game, and you could break through walls. But I got to a point in the map where I didn't have a strong enough sword, but then it was also a point of no return. So I dropped down. It saved my game, and I now had a weak sword, and I couldn't break through the wall. And I'm like, I physically cannot get out of here.
Yeah,
and I haven't got a save to go back
bummer,
to.
Man.
And it was like I was like 6 hours of the game. I was like, I'm not doing this again. So I took it back.
You know, back in the day, you used to fall into places or go somewhere and be like, "Am I stuck?
Yeah.
Like, can I not move anymore?" You don't really get that experience anymore. The game's like, if you can get down there, you can get back up, or if you go forward in the story, like you're pretty much good. But I'm still traumatized, and every time I'm somewhere that looks like I can't get out, I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah. You start hitting the jump button, and you're doing like that.
I mean, I still get
find
stuck.
the exact right place to get out.
I still get stuck to this day. I'm like a bug magnet when it comes to games. I was playing Cyberpunk, which obviously has a ton of bugs. So, easy pickings to be able to have something
I hadn't
like that.
heard.
But wait, actually, this actually happened I think this happened in Godfall and Cyberpunk, where I got stuck on a piece of geometry and it wouldn't let me move.
Interesting.
And I was basically locked in one place. I was like, well, this is strange. I guess I'm gonna have to reload this. And this definitely happened in Godfall as well, during like almost the end of a mission. I was like, I have to repeat this mission because I was rolling around and got stuck in some goddamn geometry.
Oh no.
I remember playing Fallout 3 and it was happening all the time. Like I'd be walking down a hallway and get stuck in a tin can. Like that was just like garbage on the floor. I'd be like, God, I'm stuck again.
Yep. Yeah.
So you guys gonna go to E3 this year?
Yeah, my room.
What's are they gonna charge tickets to view stuff online or something? What's going on with
Jeez,
that?
I hope not.
They better not. I mean, if they do, nobody's gonna go there. That's the thing. So for anyone that has missed it, ESA wants to hold a digital E3, and they're like, we're gonna be the central source for this stuff, and everyone's just like, but we can just show you our trailers for free, not give you any money, and get just as much stuff and not have you control it. So why do we want to go through you?
Yeah, ESA is not in good shape, right? They've had a bad few years, right? They leaked everybody's information a few years ago where, and they didn't apologize, basically. It's like anybody who had been to E3 figured out that their phone number and their home address were like up on ESA's website, just like public to anybody who could, and like content creators and people in the press are really, really mad about that.
Yeah.
And then last year, obviously, E3, along with just about everything else, got canceled because you can't go anywhere anymore, and it's just the state of the world. That's not necessarily their fault, but oh God, what's the guy's name that puts on? He used to be on Game Trailers. Jeff Keighley kind of stepped up to the plate and did this kind of summer-long like replacement for E3, and E3 now basically wants to do that. Right? It's like they want to do this kind of like digital version of E3 that takes place over 3 days, but they're going to charge money to do it. And I can't imagine why companies would want to do this. Like, why share the spotlight? They're going to charge money to the companies who want to be presented.
I saw
quite
somebody,
a bit.
Somebody make a decent suggestion. What they should be doing with it, and obviously not from like an ESA charging point of view, but like all the big companies. Let's be honest, they learned from last year. They can just show their things wherever they want. If you're like a Microsoft and a Sony, you don't need to go through them, right? What they should do is turn E3 online into like a place for indie showcase, where like you have smaller studios who physically can't. Don't have necessarily the numbers to kind of push their game out and get like the visibility on it. So suddenly you can go to E3 digital and be like, oh, here's a load of games from studios I've never heard of, and give them the chance to sort of showcase it.
Yeah, I mean that's the
cool.
base. That's like the good thing about E3, or the best part about E3, is that like obviously another Call of Duty is going to get shown. Like a Far Cry or stuff like that's happening. Like you get that. That's no surprise, and you already know where to seek it out if you're interested in those games. But you have no idea about these indie games that are suddenly setting up shop at E3 to be like, this could be your next incredible indie title adventure that you had no idea existed. And that is definitely something that I would miss about E3 going bye-bye, because it was a good localized or like a centralized source for that info. So
I'd rather see somebody else take that place though, like Jeff Keighley or somebody. I mean, this organization has not conducted itself in a proper manner whatsoever.
Yeah, you're right. Definitely.
So I have no interest in seeing them succeed at this at all, to be honest with you. And although I'll miss like E3, even though it's kind of a holdover from the days of like print magazines and like sales executives go into like do orders for the big holiday releases for that year. Like that's really what E3 started as. Now it's like more of this show where it's a chance to get this huge summer news dump, and it just seems like an outdated model anyway.
Yeah.
And honestly, I feel like anyway, when you look at it, like, I mean, like obviously Jeff like stepping up to the plate anyway. You go back a few years, like Game Awards never used to exist, right? And suddenly now it's a thing that everyone looks forward to every single year. It's like a big place. It's not just for awards. It's for, I mean, if anything, it's more trailers than it is awards these days.
It is, yeah.
So I could see, obviously, like Jeff has already said that he plans to do Summer Games Fest again this year. And I could see that, once the world starts to return to normal, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't suddenly step up to the plate and try and, collectively begin organizing like a replacement for E3. One thing I will say I'm happy about, I saw Jeff reply in the comments, because shout out to him for obviously stepping up to the plate and doing something of short notice. I will say I hated the Summer Games Fest last week because it dragged out for so long.
Yeah,
I do not want 3 months.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't even 3 months of nonstop news. It was like 3 months of things that would have been given to us in a week, but we're going to spread it out. And it just felt, it was actually exhausting. From like, I so many people in like games media I was speaking to as well, and they were just like, it feels like E3 just never ended. Like you normally finish E3, you then take your break, and then you come back. It's just like, in August, we were still getting announcements. I'm like, yo, this is enough. But Jeff replied to someone this week, who's like, we're going to, in one of those tweets, and basically said that Summer Games thing will now be less than a month.
Good.
So it should be more condensed.
Good. Yeah, that's how I felt too. Because like you'd be like, oh, some news, and it was like, I wasn't really interested in that week's news. So and then the next week would have something that was mildly interesting. So like that's 100% how I felt about that. So I'm glad that they're changing that up. But isn't that's an Xbox thing though, right? The summer games.
No, Summer Games was basically Jeff. Just like it was just Jeff, kind of just he was him taking like anyone that would sort of come on his show. So it wasn't exclusively Xbox. He took like quite a few other people, but obviously he didn't get all the big stuff, because obviously outside of that, people like Sony and Ubisoft had their own shows anyway. They were like, we don't need to go through you.
For sure, yeah.
So,
I'm just thinking if like in the long term, if they do so let's say E3 does go away and Jeff does kind of take the helm on that stuff. I'm like just wondering how much platform agnostic type of stuff would happen versus being more exclusive.
Well, that seems like it would set up the more indie developers to really have a spotlight more than like Sony, who could still put on a big show whenever they want to. Microsoft, who could do the same. I mean, obviously, but what do you think is going to happen with Bethesda? Are they going to still have an independent?
I think they'll get rolled into Microsoft now, right?
I mean, probably, right?
Because I guess they don't. I mean, I'm sure, obviously, as a studio, they could still talk themselves, but I mean, I don't think they kind of have that. Well, they have the weight, but I mean, I think Microsoft would probably want to push it into their show now, especially given that Microsoft don't often have a lot to show. They're just like, here's a few things that might come out in a few years' time. So they're going to want to grab that.
Yeah, I'd assume that they want Bethesda's titles in their Xbox showcase and all that.
Sony, EA, and Activision had already left E3, right?
Yeah. And Ubisoft, and Ubisoft as well.
Ubisoft as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of time.
They lost a lot of big ones, really. Yeah. Yeah, because you think like the last E3 we were able to go through, like one of the huge booths that usually would be, because it used to be like the monoliths of like Sony and Xbox used to be across from each other, and then when like Sony dropped out and Activision dropped out, like the booth was replaced by like a massive Fortnite booth, and it was just like one whole hall was like Fortnite a monster, and it's just like, okay.
Can you imagine going to E3 just for Fortnite?
Fortnite, yeah.
You know what kind of game would be perfect to highlight in something like this? Would be Narita Boy.
Yes.
Oh, let's talk about
I like
that.
that segue.
So I can't remember, Eric. I think me and you discovered this game at the same time on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like somebody just like randomly tweeted us, "Hey, you guys should check this out. It seems like it'd be right up your alley." And boy, were they right.
Oh my gosh, this game
is so cool, man. There's a demo out now. You can download it off Steam, but when it comes out, it's supposed to come out on like every platform, right? PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and I think on Switch it'll just be awesome. But this is a hyper stylized version of like an 80s platformer, but it doesn't really play like an 80s platformer. It kind of does this really cool, has this really cool look to it where they kind of put on this like CRT filter that's not just like a scan line effect, but it actually like it makes your high definition TV look like it's got a bubble, like a bubble screen TV, like an old CRT bubble to it. And it warps the picture out and also kind of like puts fringing around the edges and kind of like occasionally you'll see a little bit of static roll up the screen. Really cool effect. And then the graphics, man, are somewhere between like Tron and Metroid. It's so cool looking. Like it's just so fucking cool looking.
Yeah, this is definitely cool. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to play the demo yet, but I saw the trailer, it was like instantly it's been wishlisted. Like it's funny because sometimes those games come out and if they like the trailer drops, I mean the demo drops them. I'm like, I could play it on Steam, but I kind of just want to wait till it's out so I can play it on Switch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just like the visual style for that is like, ooh, like if there's a collector's edition for that one, I need to buy that because it's gonna be a nice one.
Yeah. If there's a physical, for sure. It's got kind of a cool story. Honestly, when I was playing the demo, like it was kind of hard. Like I was trying to kind of parse what they were talking about in the story because it's very Tronish, where you like get sucked inside a computer into like a 1980s video game console, and like the characters are like programs running in there, and like it's a little gibberishy, and there's a lot of proper nouns that it's hard to remember when they're rapid fired at you like that. So hopefully when you get the full game, it'll make a little more sense, like as far as like explaining it. But man, the action was super stylish. It's like the best way I could describe how it plays is kind of like Dead Cells, where you got a sword, you got a backward dash. You're kind of agile in that way.
Does combat feel really good?
I would say it doesn't feel quite as good as Dead Cells. It feels good. I've been playing a lot of Cyber Shadow, which I think is like kind of right at the peak of how responsive a game can be and how good it can feel. And it's a little like your character has more momentum and more weight than like something like that. So you have to plan your moves. You have to anticipate your enemies a little bit more. So it may be me mistaking it as not being responsive as me needing to learn like the weight and the momentum of the moveset more. You know what I'm saying? But man, it does feel good, and it looks so good, and it's aesthetically so fun to just be in that world. Really, and every area you go into, it kind of has this cool new effect, and man, it's neat. It's just a neato game.
It says,
I'm looking forward to this one.
It says release TBD 2021. So is there any other official news, or is that?
I thought I had seen on Twitter March was the date, but I don't see it here.
Because I want to play that. Looks really cool.
Yeah,
there's a lot of cool indie games that were shown. I think I forget what it was. I think there was like an indie game showcase recently because there's like a load of titles that suddenly got announced. I was like, this is on my wish list. This is on my wish list. I'm trying to pull up the list of other ones that were kind of cool.
Did you get any farther in Cyber Shadow or Cyber?
Yeah. I'm in, Cyber Shadow. I'm at level 7 right now. I did put it down for a few days. This game has inspired me to like start checking out like a ton of new Switch controllers to really get like kind of premium D-pad and like controls and all that stuff. So actually that's going to be a video because I bought like 5 new Switch controllers in the last like 2 weeks because of this game.
Nice.
But yeah, I've been really enjoying that game. At the point I'm at, once I got the motorcycle, you can get a sentient motorcycle in this game, which is pretty baller. I was a big fan of that. But the game almost turns into a puzzle game, for me at least, because it's not about me reacting to my environment like in a Ninja Gaiden. Well, it's not about me reacting to my environment as much as it is about going through the level enough times where I can memorize it and learn specifically what moves I have to do at what time to efficiently get through that level or that piece of a level.
Right.
And the save points are at a, if you make a clean run from save point to save point, it's going to be like, I don't know, 2 minutes. But trying to get that clean run can take me anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour, just learning it and then executing exactly. Because it's not like there's 6 ways of doing this. There's a path through here that you have to learn, almost like a puzzle game. It all feels super responsive, but there's like a couple of moves. Like if you tap forward twice, you do this dash maneuver. And on certain controllers, that it was like a 50% of the time that it would actually work for me. So that was really bugging me. And like D-pads on the Switch are kind of an issue, like digital input. Yeah. It's kind of an issue.
I played on the Xbox controller and like I didn't have nearly as much problems with that.
Yeah, the Xbox controller is really good. The new D-pad on the Xbox Series X controller, I think is really
I haven't
good.
had that yet. Haven't tried that. I'm still on the hunt.
Oh, really? No luck yet, huh?
Every time I see Wario64 tweet something, I'm like, what is it? Oh, it's random ass title that I don't care about. Okay.
Well, the good news is they expect the shortages to get even worse for the PS5, the Xbox Series X, and the NVIDIA graphics cards, the AMD graphics cards. Like they're actually going to get worse.
Also, electric cars too, right?
Electric cars. Oh, good.
Because of the silicon shortage. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have to start mining asteroids or something? What's going on here?
I think that's a fantastic idea. You volunteer?
Maybe I'll connect a few people. I'll be in an admin role.
You might be safer up there, to be honest.
Right?
Maybe you go to space for like a year, come back, world will be normal. Maybe.
I've seen a lot of movies that are set in space, and not a lot of them turn out great, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's usually not too good for the returning party.
Anti-space propaganda. They're trying to keep you from the promised land. Yeah, I think so.
Like it seems like once you go up there, just a bunch of shit goes wrong. Like there's not a whole lot of movies where it's just smooth sailing in space.
Yeah, they can't call AAA.
They haven't got a Jar Jar Binks to back them up. You see?
Do you see that Darth Jar Jar?
I did.
Oh, that was freaky.
That was amazing.
That was awesome. That was awesome. You see, that's what you need. You need one of those to back you up.
If you guys haven't seen it, Google Darth Jar Jar. It makes him look very cool.
Yeah, you'll want to join the dark side.
I mean, he already looks cool. It makes him look cooler.
This is factually incorrect.
I mean, as the #1 Star Wars fan and the authority in all things space, I highly disagree.
All things space.
Authority of all things space.
I'm quite the space connoisseur.
Do you see that ad for civilians going into space? Oh, actually, this was a Super Bowl ad, right? Where they're, I can't remember what company, or SpaceX maybe it was what it is. I can't remember. But like, there's they showed an ad. Go to some website to become one of the first civilians to go into space. I was like, okay.
Is this where I get to be a guardian?
This is Guardian training program. Yeah.
Oh, this is content.
Yeah.
So if you're a Destiny creator, sign up for it and then just record yourself
my God.
becoming a real guardian. It'll be great.
Here's my question on this, right? It's like assuming you actually want to go and you'd like to go, you have the money, you have the means to do it, and you'd like to go.
Assuming you got $100 grand to spend on ticket.
Is the play to go like on the first trip, assuming that everything's brand new, nothing's worn out, or is that stupid because nothing's tested, nothing's proven? Like but like if you wait a couple of years when stuff starts wearing out, the seals get a little iffy. It's we know from our current aircraft situation that they just run these things nonstop, and when something breaks, we'll fix it then.
So the commercial space liner problem.
Yeah. Like, what's gonna happen? Is there gonna be like an FAA for space?
Well, the problem is if you take too long, right? The people that landed there first are going to lay their claim, and they'll have like the mafia of space, right? And you'll get
there's going to be like Doritos packages everywhere. It's
no, it's more that they'll assert their dominance. They'll be like, well, we've been here first. We own the moon now. So like, you want to come here? We're the boss. And I'm like, well, if I was here on the first ship, I could have been the ruler of the moon. But alas,
true.
And you get up there, and it's gonna say, there's a bunch of graffiti that says Jar Jar was here.
Exactly.
Darth Jar Jar rises 2035.
As soon as you get off the ship, Briar, I'll be like, well, if you don't support Jar Jar, you can go over there and you can work on it. You can mine the asteroids instead.
Yep.
I'm being persecuted for my dislike of Jar Jar.
Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
Yeah, I'll be honest. That gives me the heebie-jeebies thinking about like some, I know that they're going to do a lot of testing and all that, but stuff goes wrong. And when you're like got a massive jet propulsion behind you, send you up, breaking gravity and all that, like there's a lot more that can go wrong. You can't
The
just.
thing is, the thing is, well, with those things, right, is like, if at least you're going to sign up, because a lot of the time it's like sign up to be one of the first people. It's like, if I was going to sign up, I want to sign up with like, assuming they all wanted to go, like my family and friends. Like, who wants to be like, I was the first person in space, but I went on my own, and instead I had to sit next to some random who was like picking his nose the whole journey, right? And he farted on the spacecraft. And I'm just like,
some random ass billionaire.
I'm like, I want to go with my friends, so I can be like, yo, dude, that's the moon, and then we can all jump out in space together. So at least if it goes down, we can all like tell the stories. Whereas instead, I'm like, great, I'm sat next to like Grandpa over here.
Yeah, you sit next to No Scopes 360 who made like $1 billion off of GameStop.
No.
Be like, this is dope, bro. First
I'm not gonna lie to you. I totally want to go. Like, and if I have to go by myself and sit next to No Scopes 360, I don't care. I totally want to go to space. It sounds amazing. Like, I want to have that weightless experience where you're like just floating in space. I want to squeeze my juice pack and just have a bubble of fucking juice floating through the air. Like, I want to do a spacewalk.
You say that until you squeeze the juice pack, and then No Scopes 360 takes the juice because he's like,
he like sucks your juice pack. Fucking No Scopes.
Getting up there isn't so bad. It's the landing part that always seems to go terribly wrong.
Yeah, landing could be dicey. There's so many things that could just be straight up problematic for our current technology of like sending a rocket in space, man. Like,
listen, after the aliens visit, they give us the tech, they teach us how to do the thing. Or maybe I'll just go with the aliens. That's probably the safest option. Wait for the aliens to come, ask if you can go take a short trip.
They've clearly been in business a lot longer than us.
They've been in business way longer.
They've probably got good internet as well, to be fair. Like, we'll get like dial up, right? Whereas if we go the aliens, they'll have like ultra fiber.
They got Galactic Online.
Exactly. Where you can like, you don't even have to like order from Amazon. It's just like the product is physically sent through the internet cable and it just materializes.
They got materialization goo that manifests whatever the crap you're thinking about.
Ironically, on Galactic Online, the comments still suck.
Reddit or our Galactic Online. Really bad place to visit.
It's salty.
That's what I would do, right? If I was on the moon and I was the moon leader, right? I would make everybody take a keyboard test, right? And then if you don't have your internet license, you're not allowed to write on Twitter and forums and stuff. So therefore, if you're a moron, you've got a stupid opinion, you're not allowed to be on the internet. Like,
if your finger ever touches the caps lock key, you get banned.
No, but here's the best bit, right? You'll allow them a viewing license where they can look at the internet, but they can never get in. They can just be like, oh. And everyone's having like, nice conversations. They're like, I want to be angry. It's like, well, you don't belong on the internet, so I'm sorry. And they're just like,
I like this idea.
The flip is that they end up being the happiest people on the planet because they don't have any internet. Turns out internet wasn't that great.
True.
True.
Oh, that's crazy.
I remember growing up and like the internet. I'm old enough that I remember like the internet as a theory as opposed to like an actual thing that people had in their homes. Yeah. And I remember the promise of the internet was just like, any information you want at your fingertips, which is pretty much true. But they didn't talk at all about the downsides of like mental health or like toxicity or, overthrowing the government, like that kind of stuff, which, in some cases, overthrowing your government could be a good thing. In other cases, maybe not. Like, who am I to judge? Maybe your government needs to be overthrown. Maybe it doesn't. But man, it has not turned out like they had planned it to. That's for sure.
I guess it must be hard to like plan for that stuff because it's like in the I'm sure like loads of people watched it, but you remember the documentary on the social media documentary. I can't remember what it was called.
The social dilemma.
Yeah, that's it. But it was really interesting with the way they spoke about it. They were like, as people evolved, we evolved as like tribes where you care what your tribe thinks of you, which is like your family around you. But people are not like evolved to like process what millions and like thousands of millions of people think of you.
Yeah.
So like just that just like screws people's heads. It's like you should worry what your immediate friends think, but like not what like Jimmy No Scopes 537 down the road thinks of you. Like,
yeah, it's true. I mean, we have like a capacity of up to like I think 250 people in a like a village
that you can remember.
Yeah, that you would remember, interact. People would assign roles like, oh, that's the doctor, that's the the person who makes weed.
The town
like there's things that like there's a reason why we're very tribal and assign people to do things. Like someone in your house is like probably the computer person because that's what they like, and so you always like give them the tasks for the computer stuff, and the internet breaks all that. Like it shatters all that with all these opinions going constantly. Like our brain isn't built for a filtration system to see that stuff.
He would be the narc.
Briar would be dinner. He'd be he'd be being slow cooked in the village.
The internet is it's a strange and scary phenomenon. Like it'll be interesting to see where this takes us in the next 20 years. Like will we evolve? Will the internet evolve to better suit our needs? Like will we just have to impose like restrictions on how the internet can work? Because like clearly what's going on now is dangerous.
Oh, it's really bad. The like depression rates and suicide rates of teenagers has gone up. The scary amount.
Yeah, it's clearly not
you never know what's going to trigger somebody too. It's like I try and be like really fucking nice to people on the internet, except for you guys. But I try and be really fucking nice to people on the internet because like I had a comment a couple of days ago where my hands were in a video, and usually comments on videos don't get to me because I know where it comes from. But it said like something to the effect of your fat fingers are distracting in this video, and it reminded me of how my mom used to call my fingers hobbit fingers. And I'm like, yo, man.
You just took me right back to my childhood, man.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm ready for a fight. Yeah, it's strange.
But you never know what's gonna trigger you, right? I was like, because people put all sorts of bad shit in comment sections on YouTube, especially like all sorts of fucking really rude shit. Most of it, like you kind of learn to filter it out if you read it at all. But every once in a while, somebody say like, the edit on this video is kind of shitty. I'm like, fuck you, man.
I spent 10 hours on this.
Yeah, the music is just a little bit too loud.
Yeah, it's interesting how that stuff, on a flip side though, it makes you wonder if the internet, like this is super out there theory stuff, but like what if the internet was an evolutionary tool that would help shape our brains further into being more connected? So like there's all this awful stuff that's going on for sure, but what if the internet was like the first step to have like a simulate or like the like a telekinetic type of thing where
telepathy.
Well, like
well, that's what Elon Musk is working on, right? It's like a brain implant that allows you to.
That sounds awful. I don't want to like technology implanted in my brain. I don't want a USB hookup in my brain.
Natural evolution.
Yeah, like what if
I don't think it works like that, guys. It takes like hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah,
Does it take hundreds?
Yeah.
There's theories though that like maybe some of the evolutionary stuff isn't actually that long. Sometimes it happens like really quickly because there's like there's reasons for
there's got to be a mutation, and there's got to be time for that mutation to proliferate, right? There's got to be a mutation.
But what sparks the mutation?
Anything can spark the mutation.
What if the internet sparked the mutation?
That's not how it works, though. The mutation is random, right? Nothing sparks the mutation, but the mutation then it ends up being beneficial to the species in such a way that the species then, like this new offshoot of the species with this mutation, then thrives much more so than the rest of the species. That's how that works. It's not sparked by anything. It's just a random mutation.
Well, you don't know that though. That's the theory is it's completely random.
I'm just gonna say, listen, Briar. No one told QAnon that that's not how it works. So don't poop on our conspiracy.
We're
evolving from the internet.
What if one day, right? It's like slowly we've just been absorbing the internet without realizing, and then one day someone's like, "I've had enough," and they just pull the plug on the internet. The internet's gone.
Isn't that what Apple's doing?
But right, here's
pulling the plug on Facebook.
Here's where the evolutionary thing comes in, right? You see, then for a few years or like a year, you're just like, oh, the internet's gone. Everyone goes back to just like enjoying the world, and then suddenly they realize that like they've assimilated the internet into their mind and they know everything, and they're just like, wow. I think you know everything.
I think we just realized, wow, I'm way happier.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting. I mean, like, in a way, the internet's inevitable. When you look at like the timeline of stuff, eventually we would make something like this. Just like AI is going to be inevitable, you know. But like, where does that take humanity? You know, with everyone being so connected. I mean, we are going to change. Humanity is going to change in some way. Maybe not biologically, but like definitely, it's already changing emotionally and all that.
Wake us up.
Yeah,
we need Neo to pull the plug and make us realize that we're all lying in pods right now. And then we're just like, whoa, the world looks crazy.
I'm gonna go to space, man.
Episode, right? At this point in the episode, people are going to tune in and be like, what have these guys been smoking?
We told you.
We got into Watson's stats again.
The conspiracy podcast. I told you it was coming. I warned you. Here it is. We
gotta invite Wilson next time we do that.
We've pivoted.
Wilson's got some stuff going on, man.
Oh my gosh.
Speaking of evolution,
yeah,
you can evolve to be a werewolf.
I would like to be a werewolf. Can I be a heavy metal werewolf, Watts?
Oh yes, you can. Do you also want to fight? Do you want to fight environmental assholes?
Yeah,
environmental assholes like Greenpeace. No, I don't want to fight Greenpeace.
So there's a game out called Werewolf The Apocalypse Earthblood. I think it's called that. Werewolf is definitely in the name. Apocalypse is definitely in there too. So it came out last Thursday, so it's not been out for very long. It's out on everything, PS5, PS4, Xbox, PC, all the stuff. And essentially, it is a werewolf RPG where you have 3 forms, which all do different things. One is a human, so he like will use all the technology and talk. Course, you have just a regular wolf, which is all about stealth, and then there's a werewolf that's all about fighting. And then in the werewolf, there's 2 stances. There's a super fast werewolf, and then there's a very strong, slow werewolf. And you can level up all of your abilities. You can get new stuff. You can unlock like roars that knock people down. You can unlock like a combo move where you just scratch people to death. And the way that I like to explain the game is it's like Ferngully if it was heavy metal.
The movie.
That's the first thing I saw, because I saw them like the intro is them like cutting down trees and destroying the rainforest, and then the wolves are like, "No, we will stop you from destroying the environment. Save the turtles," is what the wolves are saying. That's what the game is, and it kind of plays out like a very cheesy 80s action movie. Like a lot of the story, the voice acting, the writing is very cheesy. But it's funny because it's like that. And combat is actually really fun. The combat in that game is hilarious. You can pick up people and throw them at other people. Amazing. You can scratch them. You can execute people with special execution moves. And it's kind of just like a silly good time.
Is this a full price game?
No, it's not full price. I think it's either $40 or $50. But it's not $60.
Okay.
Or 70.
It's not $60 or $70.
So it sounds like a werewolf version of, what was that shark game that came out last year?
Yeah, it is. I thought the same thing. Yeah.
That game's free on PSN, or it was last month.
It's where you go to just have a silly, silly time.
Yeah. Is that what you would describe this game as? Kind of like a silly time? A
silly time. That's very serious about environmental activism and stuff. But the way that it plays out is pretty fun. It's actually based on a 90s tabletop game.
Oh.
Is where it comes from.
The Werewolf Apocalypse.
So it's very like, it's an anti-corporate, anti-capitalism, but very pro-environmental terrorism.
Interesting.
It's you know how in Final Fantasy VII where they go and they plant the bombs to blow up the plant.
Yeah.
You do that all the
Okay.
time.
That's like a side mission that's everywhere, right?
You just do it.
Does this take place in
constantly.
modern day, or is it like some kind of alternate universe? Or
I don't know. It looks 80s, 90s.
oh,
So I'm gonna go with
just
that.
got cooler.
Has it got a CRT filter? Because then Briar's in.
Yeah,
It doesn't. It doesn't. But the character models will definitely bring you back to the good old days.
the PS2 days.
Yeah. The environment is beautiful, and then the character models are a little weird. The eyes are very wide. Everyone always looks like very surprised, which just adds to it being hilarious and a silly fun time.
I think I'm not gonna pick this game up at full price, but if this game goes on sale, I think I'll probably pick it up just to have some giggles with. Like the reviews for it are kind of across the board, like online. Like, but when I was watching you play it, I was like, "This looks like fun. It looks like I'm gonna have fun if I play this game."
You will, and lots of people were like, "This is a Briar game. When's Briar gonna play this game?"
I don't know what that says about people's opinion of me, but
that you want to pop into your werewolf form when the heavy metal music kicks in and slash some faces, kick some
That's
ass.
pretty cool.
oh, that's your signal.
Yeah, that's a Briar game.
Did you guys get a chance to play the other game that came out last week for PS5 for free? Destruction AllStars?
AllStars. Yeah,
no, I didn't.
Yeah, it was. It's actually quite cool. It's so for anyone that hasn't played it, it's like Destruction Derby. Only you're not just in the car. You can get out of the car, and you can fly kick people. And you've got like there's 16 characters. Every character's got a kind of hero ability which you can use outside your car, and you've then got a unique hero vehicle which has also got its own ability. It's got a variety of different modes, and you basically play, but it's all variations on Destruction AllStars. So you drive around your cars, smash into people. It's a lot of fun. It's free on PSN right now. It's one of those things where obviously it's very samey. Obviously, it is variations on Destruction AllStars, so it's not the sort of thing that you will maybe play for very long periods of time. But given that it's free, there's a lot of cool, funny characters and stuff. And I like the handling of the vehicles. The vehicle they've got the handling really, really nice. It's like arcade handling, so it drives really well, plays really well. So yeah, I think it's quite cool.
I think it's great for free. If I had paid money for
it's
that
not
game,
free, right? You got to pay for PSN.
True.
Yeah, but I already own a PS5, and clearly I'm going to pay for PSN if I have a PS5. But like, if I had to pay, if I had to drop $40 or $50 on the game, then I'd be like, ooh, bummer.
Yeah,
maybe I should get
this game was part of my pre-order. Like I had pre-ordered the PS5 with a bundle.
Then they gave it for free
on GameStop.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
No, because it got delayed. So GameStop refunded me the money for this game, but it was going to be a $60 game. I'm pretty sure GameStop was charging me $60 for it. And like I was kind of looking forward to it, but like I started seeing some early reviews on this thing. It's like, not so much.
So the biggest thing that it's a PlayStation title, right? Destruction AllStars PlayStation. Like, why would they not lean into Twisted Metal, which is an amazing?
There's no weapons. There's no weapons on the cars.
But they could have. They could have gone towards that.
They could have. Yeah, absolutely.
But there could be.
Well, I mean, when you play this game, you're like,
well, it's not the developer.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. It's not the developer. When you play it, it's like, all right, cool. Like, a game or two is fine. Then I'm definitely playing something else. Like, it's a good in between games. Like, play one session and then go do something else type of game. But it's PlayStation. They have Twisted Metal. Twisted Metal's awesome. You're right. It's like it's got guns.
True. Yeah, there's definitely more they could have done with it. It's one of those things where, because even down to like when you look at some of the characters and some of the cars, like again, you've got 16 characters, and most of them have got pretty like unique abilities. But you've even got versions of like you've got a couple of characters that set their cars on fire and leave trails of fire, or there's a few repeat styles of abilities, and it's always a bit like when you kind of got characters, you kind of want them to be unique, and some of them are cool, some of them are there are some that are more like Robot Warsy. Like one of the vehicles, you can quite literally put a chainsaw on the front of it and you can slice through vehicles. That's cool. Meanwhile, then you switch to another one, which is like, yeah, exactly right. This one quite literally puts like a 4 like chain blades on the front, and anything you drive into is just dead. You're like, all right, this is cool. But then you get another vehicle where it's just like, I've got a stronger shield and I can ram into something. It's like, well, that doesn't sound as exciting as this one. It should have just been like every single vehicle gets like dumb weapons and blades on the side of the thing, and you're just like flying around doing it. And one thing I do wish, I wish they did more with being out of the vehicle. I know obviously it's a driving thing, but in the original trailer when they showed it, usually they showed a lot of like jumping and fly kicking and stuff. Well, let me tell you, when I first got this thing, I was like, I want to try and fly kick vehicles. You can't fly kick vehicles. I want to try and fly kick people out of there. You can steal cars from people, but I was like, I thought I was sold the dream that even if I'm out of my vehicle, I could literally fly kick someone and destroy a vehicle. No.
Is there any reason to be outside of your vehicle?
Basically, if your vehicle gets destroyed, you have to then run and get to another vehicle.
Yeah.
So you just want to get to another vehicle as fast as possible.
Yeah, you can. The only way you can get a KO is if someone else is out of the vehicle. Then you can attack each other. That's the kind of value in it. But it's like I want to do more.
Yeah.
So,
I also heard this game is filthy with microtransactions.
There's a lot of stuff in there. Back to the 16 character thing. Like they look cool. They have like the game visually is great.
Super cool.
Yeah, the game is visually enticing. It's nice to watch, even the destruction, all that stuff. But it's a little overwhelming seeing 16 characters. Like you were saying, Eric, like they do have some variations, but some of them are kind of like the samey feel. And it was a little like, oh boy, do I have to learn what 16 different characters do in this game? Like I'm not gonna take the time to do that. Come on. Yeah. So, it's great that it's free. If you have PSN, like pick it up. And a PS5, it's fun to play for like a couple rounds. But yeah, like I did notice way too much microtransaction stuff in there too. But I wasn't surprised since it's free now. They gotta make some money somehow.
True.
Did you guys see the breaking news for the last year and a half, BioWare have been in incubation mode for Anthem, right? We know that they've been doing something.
Oh, shit.
This week, EA will review the progress of Anthem Next and decide whether to expand the team or put an end to the project.
Oh, it's actually make or break.
Right. This is actually
legitimately make or break. Like this time, you can actually say make or break to a game. Wow.
How long have they been in kind of nose to the grindstone mode for like a year, right?
A year and a half. They said that they've been overhauling things in Anthem. And
now it's time to either say we're going to continue that process or just kill it.
Yep. And people are obviously very concerned because with EA, more likely we expect them to just be like, all right, stop it, than adding a bunch of new people to the project. But I guess we'll find out.
I mean, it's possible they've made some amazing progress and it's looking awesome. Yeah. But it's likely they're going to be like, this is a unbelievable mess that we're not going to be able to fix.
What would you guys do, right? Like, imagine they look like they're on like a pretty good like line of thinking. Like you like what they're gonna do, like what they're doing, but it's gonna take another year or possibly 2 to finish this thing up. Maybe even 3 on the outside edge. Like, because the upside of getting one of these things to hit is huge, right? It's like you get like a ton of money from it, then you could, filthy it up with microtransactions. You can make a shitload of money with one of these things.
Didn't it already have a bunch of microtransactions?
Yeah.
The only way to get other armor was to use microtransactions.
The thing is, like, I feel like it's a really, really difficult place to be right now because not only is it obviously it's got a bad history, right? But it's interesting because it's funny how when Anthem first came out, everyone was like, we hate this. This game is terrible. Anyone that remotely suggested it,
everybody except for people on this podcast.
Yeah, pretty much.
anyone that remotely did any videos on it was suddenly brandished as like a shill or anything ridiculous, right? But then suddenly, when the game fell apart, everyone's like, "Well, hold on a minute. If they remade, it's like, don't you dare get excited. You hated the game. Don't you dare even try this. But anyway, the point is, it's a really difficult time because it's got this bad history, and then. Looters in general right now are just not doing well. Marvel flopped, Godfall flopped, Outriders looks to be doing the similar sort of thing. We don't really know just yet. Destiny's in the pan again at the moment. Like Division kind of got boring with the same kind of thing. Like they're all doing. But the crazy thing is that no matter you would think that these studios would learn from each other, but they all do the same thing.
Yeah, they all make the same mistakes over and over again, right?
Yeah, and it's just like I just feel like, but then also pair that with the fact that now people have just got loot game fatigue. Like at first it was like, yo, a new looter, I want it. Like now people are just like, not another one of these. Like I'm seeing so many comments where people are like, I'm done with looters, you know, like that kind of thing. So I feel like they still like them, but I do feel like it's almost like that genre needs to kind of take the bench for like a couple of years, have people like really do something cool, and then come back. But I mean, like,
I think the biggest problem is that they don't look at the good parts. Like they don't even go back to the OG. Like look at Diablo 2 and how amazing things were set up in that game to give you a pathway of what a looter should be. And a lot of them like just throw away the good stuff on that. Like Marvel, none of the stuff that you equipped changed the look that you like come on. That's such a core concept. They gotta
shoehorn. Can we even call them microtransactions anymore when they cost like $20 a pop? Like, can we just get rid of like the
macro transactions?
Macro
transactions,
exactly. Mega transactions.
Like that killed such a drive to want to get any other pieces, and like even they didn't change your abilities in a way significantly to make like suddenly like so if you play Diablo 3 and you get a new say a new sword that has a certain ability to it, it'll show it actually happening. Like the abilities will happen on screen, and that's a very core piece of looter like satisfaction. You want to see your loot actually interacting in the world with a difference, not just bigger numbers.
Yeah, that's a good point. Also, every fucking game is a looter now. Assassin's Creed is a looter.
True.
Literally, like every game you play now looks like it has some kind of looting mechanic. And to be honest with you, it's diluted that kind of gameplay loop to the point where I'm sick of it too. Like I don't take much joy in like random loot drops in any game because they're in every game and they're so meaningless most of the time.
Ghost of Tsushima Legends, man.
Yeah, I mean that one did quite well, but I guess even Valhalla to a degree, like they started to understand that because in Valhalla there were far fewer random loot drops. It was more like a lot of the pieces there was still lots and lots of gear to get, but there was when you compare it to say like Odyssey and stuff, there were far fewer like more random pieces. But
Odyssey was straight up just like they pulled the Destiny loot system out of Destiny and plopped it into Assassin's Creed.
I think the problem as well is one thing I've seen, and again, like no disrespect to the teams that work on it, and I get that when you're developing the game, you don't necessarily have all the time in the world to like be playing all the games, but there's always seems to be the disconnect where every time you hear these stories, there'll be this constant sort of struggle internally where there'll be one team that's like, oh, we want to tell a really good story. There's the other team's like, no, but we need to build an end game, and they're just like they're constantly fighting over which direction they should go, and then the game ends up coming out with neither a story nor an end game, and it's just like. I understand from a marketing point of view, if you want to get mass appeal, the mass audience are not necessarily going to play the game for like 1,000 hours, and you need to get those sales. But at the same time, the people that are going to keep living and breathing your game need something to play at the end game. And a lot of the time, they're just like, "Oh yeah, I think a strike is good enough," or like, "I think someone is quite happy to go and do this really difficult thing and get, I don't know, a teabag as a reward." It's like that is not.
See, it's crazy because like the things that make people the things that would make some people want to spend 1,000 hours are also the things that would help convert some of the casual people into becoming a 1,000-hour player. Like if you see that progression that can exist in the game, you're suddenly going to get intrigued and want to spend more time than you normally would have just, well, I got that and now it's done. I played that strike once. And it's like, cool. I'm not going to grind it again. Like when there's these little ladder systems built in for progression, and that's what converts people to becoming 1,000-hour players. Like that is where I think real success comes from in those games and make it explode.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It doesn't even have to be like excruciatingly difficult content. It just needs to be something that is exciting, something that gives you a reason to be powerful. Because there's so many games that are just like, get super powerful, and I'm like, for what? And they're like, I don't know. Get powerful. It's like, stop making me grind for this gear and give me nothing to use it for, please. And also that they also need to just stop like gimping all the characters. Like the amount of times where they're like, we want you to feel powerful, but not too powerful because this is going to make things easy, so we're going to nerf everything down to the ground. Like, let me just that's one thing I did always love about Borderlands until they started like nerfing the builds. They were just like, yo, this stupid weapon where you can kill that boss in 3 hits, we're okay with that. I'm like, this is what I want. That's just that reminded me of the first time I ever played like World of Warcraft, and I was wandering around with my friends, and like a warlock came out of nowhere and just destroyed things. I was like, that's where I want to be.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, Anything else? Weren't we going to talk about spoilers for Medium?
I would I'd like to.
Go on.
Did
Go
Brian-
on.
She dies at the end.
Whoa.
Did you finish it, Brian?
Spoiler. Of course I did.
Okay.
It's only 8 hours long. I have infinite time. I can finish all games.
Brian, did you actually finish it? No,
Of course I did.
He didn't.
I
Did you play it
did.
on-
Would I lie?
Yeah.
It's tough to see if you're lying or not. What do you think happened at the end, Brian?
Well, I don't want to spoil it. The part where RoboCop showed up was mind-blowing. I gotta say, it was astounding. I couldn't believe. And then he shot her, and he just killed the medium, like out of the blue. It was a spectacular
Did you say
event,
kill
worth the price of
confirmed?
admission. Kill
Did you see
confirmed.
the part where the Robocop took his mask off and it was Jar Jar Binks?
Jar Jar's
That
been
was-
RoboCop this entire time. Oh,
I always knew he was a bad guy.
Wow.
Well, let's do it. Right?
Sure.
Wait, unless Brian can't. Brian, do you want to finish the game?
To be honest with you, I gave up on that game. It just doesn't. It didn't hook me enough to keep playing it. There's so many games out there to play right now that I just kind of I gave up on it. I was like,
All right.
bored.
Brian got bored.
Well, then
Spoiler.
this is the
Brian got bored.
warning that we are gonna do spoilers for the medium. If you do not want to hear spoilers for the medium, you can head out now safely because we won't be talking about anything after this.
Eric, did you
But
play it?
yeah,
No, it's too spooky for me.
That's
Someone
right.
tried to
Too
lie to me.
spooky. Too much
They
Jar
said,
Jar
it, they, said
spook.
it was, they said it was a spooky link between worlds. No, don't lie to me. Don't try and pull me in with Zelda.
man, this game, I'm like, okay, yes, a spooky game, and we're having a good time, and we're like, ooh, spooky. Oh, look, a little jump scare. Oh. And then you sit in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And then from that moment, you get transported to experiencing the life of Richard, which we are kind of
You mean
learning.
Dick?
Yes. Dick.
Yeah, actually. The game does deal with a lot of really tough subjects. And one of those things is that we find out that Richard has been doing
Dick.
something to Sadness. Who is one of the main characters. Honestly, I would even say maybe possibly the main character of the game.
Yeah?
Maybe.
No, I still think Marianne's the main character.
Sadness is definitely at least a main character.
Close
like,
to, yeah, because obviously
to-
she ends up being the sister. You know?
Yes. The medium takes you on a wild ride. So we find out that Richard has been doing these things to Sadness. We find out about Richard's past, which includes a dad that went to war, but then a stepdad that heavily abused him. And then we find out that the mom called some people and ratted on her now husband.
She's a narc.
Well, yeah, I guess so. But said that he was keeping Jews, basically. He was hiding Jews.
Oh, I didn't see that part. I didn't realize that's what she called about her, yeah.
Yes, when you're looking around like the attic area and it's got like a bunch of Stars of David in a cup.
Yeah.
And then it's got like conspirator written everywhere and all of that. So she's essentially made a call to say that they are conspirators and they went and killed everybody. Because obviously this takes place in Poland and especially when you're going back in time, it's like way back during the times that are very bad times. So you're thinking, this is a spooky game. Oh, this is spooky. And then you go sit in the wheelchair and you realize, oh, we're dealing with molestation, child abuse, and Nazis.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was actually someone in chat who was like, I don't want to spoil what's going to happen at all, but can we just give a trigger warning for like bad stuff? Like there's going to be it's bad stuff.
That's like the worst stuff.
The worst stuff. Yeah. It was that was the moment where I was like, this isn't a spooky game. This is a freaking sad ass depression.
It's definitely
game.
a sad game, yeah.
It's very, very sad.
Definitely. Yeah. I thought it was really cool how they introduced Thomas and like
Yes.
actually
Yeah.
and seeing his two sides. So his gift was different. Like they all had different gifts. Like I believe Sadness had the gift of this crazy demon that she could release, and then in order to save them in the fire, like she had to release the demon so they wouldn't burn to death and all that. But like his gift was that his spiritual side was literally a different person that he was connected to, but they would split, and then he would go do his thing, and then so it was cool seeing that side of the story, or the Thomas side of the story, and like having being spiritual Thomas or medium Thomas, I guess, and going through those people's minds. That was like,
is there a well done Thomas?
Well done steak Thomas. I think
Thomas.
I think one of the highlights of the game for me was seeing the level designs that they did when spiritual Thomas was inside people's minds looking for their inner child, you know?
I kept saying, Thomas, instead of going and finding the grown-up guy who's done bad things, he's like, I'm gonna go into your mind and kick your baby's ass.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kick a bunch of baby ass. I'm not gonna take a chance on finding a grown man. I'm gonna kick some baby ass.
Yeah.
That's Thomas.
Yeah, he basically burrowed down and find the trauma that started some of their their pathway for their heinous crimes. And it was really like just wild to see that.
It was a complete trip. There was like you're walking through an area, and it's like there's kind of filing cabinets everywhere, which is representing like this deep conspiracy that was happening with, you know, there was like a secret squad that was going and taking out people or something.
Yeah.
Something like that. And then when he was looking for the childhood, because with Richard, we had like 2 instances of where we were Thomas and we got to experience the childhood of someone. With Richard, we find that there was a lot of trauma that ultimately led to him being this bad guy. And then with the other guy, which I can't remember his name.
David.
There's a lot of names.
There was
David something. It's a basic.
It was the investigator guy who called, right?
Yeah, the investigator guy.
Yeah, he called him a comrade or something, or no, like a, what was it?
Comrade. It was comrade. Yeah.
Like
it was my comrade.
Yeah, because
and when he finds his child in his mind, he's like, there's nothing there. There's no trauma. There's no empathy. It's just a bad dude.
Yeah.
We also find out that guy is the one that set Thomas's house on fire with all of his family in it. Which was a trip.
There was a trip. It was a trippy game. It was
very.
I had said it's hard to follow if you're not paying close attention. So you definitely if you play the game, you got to make sure you really are paying attention and reading the stuff that's in it. I feel like if I had streamed it, I totally would have missed like a good quarter of the story because I don't really like to read stuff on stream because I feel like it's boring if I'm reading stuff on stream. So I have this anxiety kick in.
Wrong, no.
I know, but this is how it's been for years.
I know.
I've always felt anxious over reading stuff on stream because I feel like there's a boring part that kicks in. So I have, for the most part, avoided that stuff. So not streaming it, I was able to just take my time, read all the stuff, and Memes was with me, like watching it unfold and all that. So I think it's a type of game that you really do have to pay solid attention to.
You do, yeah. Like it's not like a Dark Souls where the whole freaking story is told through the world. Like they have cohesive cutscenes that unfold a lot of things that are going on. However, in order to appreciate those cutscenes and really understand, you do have to pick up all the little notes and read all of the things. Otherwise, you won't fully get what has been happening.
Yeah. So, what did you think of the ending?
Ending. So, this is why we said last week, we're like, the medium ending and whether it's good or not depends on if there's a medium too.
Yeah.
So essentially what ends up happening is we find Sadness. We realize her name is Lillian. She is our sister. And we find her. She's alive and she's at the lake where the game like first begins, where it all starts with a dead girl is how the game starts. And it shows this image of a girl running towards the water on a pier and then a man shooting her. So we go to the pier and we find Sadness is actually there. Human Sadness.
Yeah, she's not dead.
And she's not dead at all. So, and she's explaining that the only way to stop the demon and the reason that we haven't been able to kill the demon is because she's alive. Essentially, like she has to be dead for the demon to go away. But then Marianne also remembers that the demon was saying to her that with Marianne, she is the only body that the demon could take, because he's been killing all of these people and wearing their skin and they all break immediately. So he has to go get someone else. That's why we find a bunch of dead deer. He's just killing everything and taking its skin.
It's really dark.
It's really dark. So we realize that Marianne is now, because she's so strong as the medium with all of her powers, she is the only body that could actually sustain him.
Yeah.
Now. So the ending is essentially like Lillian saying, you need to kill me in order to stop this. And Marianne going, hold on a second. He can only survive if he takes me. So I can also kill myself. Like that's an option to put a stop to this whole thing. So the ending is her about to shoot herself. Lillian going, no, don't do it. And she then says, it all starts with a dead girl. And then she remembers what Thomas said to her, which is, you can't save everyone, Marianne. And then a shot goes off. We don't know who got shot.
Yeah, screen's black. You hear a shot, and then it's like credits.
What a cop out!
I know, right? It was a major cop out.
There was then also an after credit scene that showed what we assume is Thomas, maybe real Thomas, because we don't know where real Thomas is. We only know where Spirit Thomas is.
Yeah,
and he is in the spirit realm.
Yeah, a few scenes before, he said that it's been a while since he's felt the presence of real Thomas. So,
yeah.
But Spirit Thomas was still there. So you'd think there'd be some sort of disconnection thing that would happen. So that, yeah. I wish they would have made a choice because, like, the clear choice is that she has to kill her sister, because if she killed herself, the monster wouldn't be able to take her, but it would still be alive and still terrorizing. It's been terrorizing for this whole time. So Lillian would still be alive, and apparently Lillian couldn't kill herself. Otherwise, she would have, apparently.
The demon would stop her.
Yeah, the demon would stop her. So it's like, well, there was only one choice. And so now it's like, if Marianne took her own life, then she just killed a bunch of people in the world that monster is eventually going to go hunt down.
Yeah, there's a couple things of like, so with I could see it go either way. There's a medium 2, Marianne kills herself, and now Lillian is like the main protagonist of the story, and then we kind of follow her journey into like fully getting rid of the demon altogether. Or there was another thing of, well, actually, Marianne might actually prefer to kill herself and go through with that, because Lillian has had an awful life. Her life has been horrendous. She ended up releasing this demon to save them from the fire, and then she's realizing that this demon is killing everybody. She gets locked in a room. She goes and gets locked in a hospital, and she is abused at that hospital. So she has been through awful things. So this could be a way of Marianne saying, I'm going to get rid of the demon, and you can finally have a normal life. I've lived a normal life because I didn't know who my parents were. I didn't know all of this bad stuff that was happening. So I think I do like that better. But I don't think the demon would actually she'd get rid of the demon, though, because it would still be I know.
Lillian.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, if there's a medium 2, then I'm okay with this ending. If there's not, I'm not okay with the ending. And the end credit scene heavily suggests that there will be a medium 2.
Yeah.
What's in the end credit screen again?
It shows like the spirit world. It's got this big tower, and you see Thomas's watch that he got for a 10th anniversary present. And then you see a boot just walk over and like someone picks it up. So we're assuming that is like real Thomas in the spirit
And just
world.
in case we didn't make it clear, Thomas is her biological father.
Yes.
Marianne and Lillian.
Oh, okay. Now it all makes sense.
It's very important.
So basically, the medium is a sequel to the Who's Tommy.
Who's Tommy? Yeah.
Who's Tommy? I mean the ending, I really have to see if they do end up making a second one to give my full opinion on the ending. Because I would love a second one. But I will continue to say that I really appreciate how they dealt with really tough subjects. It never felt cheap. It never felt like we're just doing this to shock you. It felt like they were handling it in a very careful way. And I like the way that they unraveled everything. I think the pacing was pretty good with unraveling as things kicked up and you're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Yeah, it really picked up. For me, it really picked up once you met Sadness and got a little bit further. Once once you've seen the monster for the first time, that's when I felt like it started to actually pick up, because like, oh, an actual threat is there, not just moths.
Yeah.
But I have this convenient shield for the moths.
Yeah, exactly.
The demon, yeah, man, that demon was really well played, well written, well voice acted. The audio design on it was freaking creepy.
Yeah. Agreed.
We called him a couture demon, because he's standing on the tippy toes, kind of like ballerina, and we're like, and he's wearing people's skin. He's going to Fashion Week.
It's fashionable demon week. So there you go.
That's the medium. Spoilers of the medium.
Yeah, that's what we really think about the story at the end.
Yeah, it was a wild ride. I loved Thomas's segments of.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thomas's segments were incredibly cool. Oh, there's also a moment that is super awesome where you're running away from the demon and it's switching between the real world and the spirit world like constantly.
Yeah.
That was freaky, because you're running and you're like, where am I going? You're like, oh god, I'm in the spirit world, where do I go now? And that was a really, really cool use of the tech behind that. That was
yeah, I agree.
That felt cool.
That was definitely cool. Yeah. Cool, guys. Is that episode 81 of SideQuest?
I think it
is.
Wow.
SideQuest complete. Conspiracy theory edition.
Conspiracy theory. Ending with the medium and talking about conspiracy theories, really, it works. It makes sense.
I'm going to relabel as Conspiracy Quest. DCB
Conspiracy Quest.
Conspiracy Quest.
That name.
Oh, they got a title.
There we go.
All right. Well, that is the episode. Thank you very much for hanging out, listening, and watching. We really appreciate all the support. Shout out to our Patreon members and our Twitch subs for supporting the shows here at DCP.
Thank you.
Eric's, where can people find you?
Over on Eric's Gaming on YouTube. I'm sorry, I'm trying to think of what was my line. Yeah, Eric's Gaming YouTube, Twitter Eric's. I don't know what I'm doing this week. Wait for the games to come out. So it's a random week this week.
Yeah. What?
I am Miss 5000 Watts. You can find me on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Just look for Miss 5000 Watts.
And Briar, where are you going to be roasted?
Man, in the comment section about my fat fingers.
Not over a charcoal? Yeah.
What they could have said is delicious fingers.
Yeah.
Next time you want to leave a hate comment for Briar, just throw in some eating him, delicious braised.
What type of sauce are you going to use?
Barbecue. Yeah. To go that route instead, it's way better.
Yeah. I just put out a video of upgrading a Dreamcast with nothing but a screwdriver, so it's all like easy stuff that you can do yourself in your house without having to solder anything. You get like a really good video out of it. Put a optical disc emulator in there so you can load backup copies of games. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And even put a Noctua fan in it so it runs quieter and stays cooler.
Wow.
If I had a Dreamcast, I'd be doing this immediately.
Yeah.
Still fit in the same.
Well, it's a really small Noctua fan. Bitty. That was fun. I got a video coming up where I'll be reviewing a shit ton of Switch controllers.
Nice.
Hopefully I can find one I love. If not, I'll just complain the whole time.
Sounds
True.
good.
Which could be an equally good video.
Yeah.
Literally getting tens of views.
I am Tefty Teft. You can talk to me at Teft on Twitter. I do have some YouTube content planned that I don't want to commit to exactly the titles of what the stuff I'm doing just yet, but that'll be happening. And yeah, thanks for watching. We will see you next week. Yeah.
You guys could check out Hoonie Pop 2. That released today. It's one of the banned games on Twitch. Go check it out. Find out why it's banned.
Oh,
too much tentacles?
Well, it's a dating sim.
Oh, yikes.
This week, I think, are you guys doing Retro Slot this week? Briar?
Yes. Retro Slot, too. This is going to be a fun episode because we're talking about Punch-Out. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, the original game for the NES. And me and Jay Sniperton have been practicing, competing, trying to get as far into Punch-Out as we can. We'll unveil the winner on the show. Also, if you've been playing Punch-Out, let us know what you think about the game, and we'll share those thoughts on the show as well. And there's a ton of like retro news about like all sorts of crazy stuff that's happened in the last 2 weeks. So we'll be talking about that tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern time live, and then the show will come out on Wednesday.
Nice. And I think a firing range is happening this week. I think it might get delayed depending. Actually, probably because new season for Destiny. And obviously we'll be talking Destiny stuff on Thursday with the new season dropping. So there it is. Thanks for watching.
Big week.
Yep. Big week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.